All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Grind in League of Legends and Esports show. My name is Jacob, also known as Basket Knives, and joining me today is Azog, known as Gabriel as well. He is the 80 carry for Maryville University, and they are on their way to quarterfinals for CLoL 2022. Gabriel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. Great to be able to sit down and have this conversation. Great to talk to a fellow 80 carry as well because I just always like having these conversations with the people that like to do tons of damage in the game. So, first off, how you doing? How you feeling? You excited for the CLoL quarterfinals?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. I think very excited to go to LA now that they're in person. I think the last couple of times collegiate has not been in person. It's been kind of saddening, especially the couple of times where the team I was on would have a good run and we wouldn't be able to go to LA. So it's gonna be nice to be able to go for the first time.
Yeah, definitely, IRL events they hit different. And
Definitely.
that's definitely exciting to be able to go out there. Super excited for you guys, for the team and for the opportunity you guys have. And so kind of thinking about that, let's take the step back and let's look at kind of like the origins of it all and kind of how you started and how you got to this point of being 3 series away from a CLoL championship trophy. So, how, first off, you know, where are you from?
So I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Awesome. So, growing up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to getting to Maryville University in St. Louis, what, kind of what was that process like? What was it growing up and then getting to this point? Kind of walk through a little bit of that.
Sure. So most of my life in New Mexico was spent playing soccer as my main source of time. I played soccer since I was 3 years old, all the way till my senior year of high school. And originally, I was going to go to collegiate level for soccer, and then I had a pretty bad injury in my arm my senior year. So when I went to the doctors, they basically said that if I kept playing and I injured it again, I would lose mobility in my arm. So at that point, I decided to take a step away from the game. And then at that point, I had like a big void in my life of just I had so much more free time and I had nothing that I really liked or enjoyed because all that was spent on soccer. So that's when I picked up League and I spammed the game for basically 4.5, 5 months straight the rest of my senior year. And then I didn't even know anything about collegiate until I got a random email from the coach of Columbia College who was saying he was looking to recruit people. And they gave me a tryout. I signed up, made the team, played for Columbia College, and then kind of been bouncing around here and there at schools until I graduated from Grandview, and then now I'm currently here doing my master's degree in business from Maryville.
Fantastic. So when you made that decision to like go into collegiate esports and like kind of take it to that next level, what was one your thought process through it, and then also what was kind of like the reaction and like the support from like friends and family that you had back home?
Uh, well, my initial thought was to make sure it wasn't a scam in the first place. So I had to do like thorough investigation of what collegiate sport was, why people give scholarships. I kind of had to like go and make sure that it was legit. And then once I did all that and showed that kind of evidence to my parents, they were fully they fully committed to supporting me in every decision I've done so far in collegiate. Definitely, my parents are some of my biggest supporters, and I love how much support they're able to give to me. Rest of my family as well. I think there's never been a point where they've questioned what I do with collegiate esports. They kind of just understand it to the best of their ability and then just support me the entire way.
That is absolutely fantastic to hear. You know, one, you did your due diligence, very smart, very wise, especially in the early days of stuff like CLoL and collegiate esports and esports in general. It's like, it's the season one running joke of, oh, it was done in Freak's basement. It's like, well, yeah, like is this just some sham, some scam or sorts, but also like, having that great support system from your family, you know, that's always great to hear, just even from the outside looking in. And I can imagine that just had to mean the world to you, like being able to have that, them being willing to take that leap of faith with you, going into this. fairly unknown and uncertain sort of environment because it hadn't really been fully developed and fully vetted out at the time. And so that's fantastic to hear. So, so you jump between a couple different colleges. You got your psychology your bachelor's in psychology over at Grandview, and then moved on to Maryville. So, having played in a couple different esports systems, what is it that you've learned from each of those systems that has helped you grow as a player and as a person?
Um, I'd say from the early days of Colombia, it was more of like maturing as an individual and kind of understanding how the world works. There was a lot of controversial decisions that happened in my first year, and I kind of had to come to terms that the world isn't as black and white as it seems, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scene that are out of my control, and all I can do is do the best with what I have, and anything that's out of my control, I can't let get to me, and I have to just keep getting better and better each day. And then my time spent at Bellevue, which was the second school I went to, uh, not really much there, honestly. Like it was kind of a repeat of what happened at Columbia, where a lot of problems with staff and ill management of just situation just not being held properly. I think the big positive from there was I got to play with a couple of input Chinese players that I got to learn a lot more about their culture and how they viewed the game, and not only just the game, but like their life in general. And they became some of my closest friends for the 2 years I was there. And then Grandview, I slid into more of a kind of like team leader or shot caller role, which I hadn't really done in the past. I just used to play the game well and not really speak or speak my mind at all. And I think I really came out of my shell at Grandview and was able to tell people how I felt about the game and how I wanted the game to be played, things along those lines, and really helped direct the team. And then here at Maryville, it's entirely different than the other three. Like I think the other three are many, many, many steps behind what Maryville has here, with both setup of staff, setup of how the teams are managed, and how day by day is ran here. I think I've learned a lot just from being at Maryville in the past 2 semesters.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. You've been able to take away learnings from each of your different experiences, each of your different steps. And yeah, that's been something that's been pretty synonymous and universal throughout all the conversations I've had so far is that the Maryville system, it's the system. It is the shit. And I've heard rave reviews about all the players, all the coaching staff, and you guys historically as well. Maryville has just been an absolute powerhouse in the collegiate scene. So that's fantastic that you've been able to get to that point. It seems like each step has been taking you more and more up the mountain to get to now this pinnacle area of it, if you will, of esports, and to have now almost successfully gotten 2 degrees while doing all this too. I think that's something that a lot of people underestimate the ability to do. A lot of people think that it's, if you're going to go and, the idea of a student athlete is that it's so much more athlete, so much less student. And so the ability to kind of find and strike that balance, I think is really fantastic. And it's a really awesome trait that you and everyone else at Maryville and a lot of the people now in the CLoL scene have. So that's absolutely fantastic to hear. And, kind of hearing about a bit of your journey getting to that point is really, really cool and inspiring. So the next thing I want to jump into is on the topic of inspiration is kind of some of the players that you look to in the past and that you've looked to now in your current form as to players that you've watched, things that you enjoyed about them, and kind of like what about them got you excited to really dive deeper and deeper into the game.
Sure. So when I first got into League, I think the one guy that I really watched a lot of was Wild Turtle, and that was mainly just because of his personality and his play style. Back in seasons, I want to say beginning of season 6 and season 7, because that's when I first picked up the game. I think that I just really enjoyed how he enjoyed the game. Like it seemed like every day when he was on stage, he genuinely really loved to be there, and you could tell by just the way he played and interacted that he was just actually so happy. And I think that that's missed by a lot of people. I think that if you have someone that has the ability to genuinely be happy with what they're doing and also perform at the same time, I think it's a pretty rare thing. So he inspired me a lot. Then the second person I watched a lot was Doublelift, mainly just because he was the best at the time, and I wanted to learn how to be at his level. So I watched a lot of his VODs, a lot of his videos, everything like that to kind of try to get a grasp of how to play the game better.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. And one, I absolutely agree. Like watching Turtle, like one, it's like like regardless of his gameplay, honestly, that dude's smile is absolutely contagious. Like
Agreed.
he has the most just authentic and genuine smile out there where he's beaming and it is so fun just kind of like hear a lot of his interviews as well and his general personality. It's like, you know, the whole trope of like, it's like a lot of people are always like, "Oh, Canadians, like they're just like the nicest people." It's like, yeah, Jason, nice guy, just like fun guy to be around. And yeah, like he's an absolute treasure. And yeah, absolutely watching Double Lift over all the years and his different iterations. His knowledge and like a lot of the way he thinks about the game is that top level intelligence, especially when it comes to like the NA side of it, where there is a lot of things you can take away and a lot of good learnings. And him being regarded as one of the NA goats definitely means something. And being able to draw some of that inspiration from him is really cool. Now, of course, in the more modern time now, it's like the mantle has certainly changed with who's up there. And so we had talked earlier about some of the more like relevant AD carries now, and basically we kind of both talked to how like basically all the AD carries at MSI, especially from the four major regions, are just absolutely cracked AD carries. So what at the current tournament have been some of those big takeaways that you've seen as to things that maybe you either didn't think about or things that you kind of got a heightened level of understanding through watching some of the games so far at MSI?
I'd say just like a better understanding of the meta and how the best players have a read on the meta. Like Gala, for example, the RNG 80 carry is just blind picking Ezreal any game that he feels like it, and he just knows that he's going to be able to perform and pick and basically play Ezreal into whatever anyone wants to play into him, and he's so confident that he will always outclass them. I've been watching a lot of him play, and it's just watching how he plays the games really altered my view of the champion and how I should be playing it. So that'd probably be the best example from this tournament.
Absolutely fantastic. So, speaking of champions like Ezreal and whatnot, so what are some of your historically like just favorite champions to play?
I think the two, or I guess three, that I'm most notable for would be Varus, Jinx, and Vayne. I think when I first got onto the scene, I was basically just a Vayne one trick. That's when I first hit the top of the ladder, was just one tricking that champion, watching double lift and ghost every day, thinking I'm hot shit because I can play the champion well. And then as I got into more of competitive and team based, I think Varus was kind of my go-to champion. And then Jinx has kind of always been one of my pocket picks that I've always been able to pull out throughout the years.
Fantastic. And then what's the current flavor of the month for you? What are you playing in solo queue? What's the tech that you got going?
Playing a lot of Samira. I think that champ's really fun and really skill expressive. Solo queue. Then just basically everything that's being picked at MSI, like Ezreal, Callista, as like Tristana. Tristana's a big one that I've always liked in the past, so it's nice to see her kind of float back into the meta.
Mhm. Fantastic. So that's actually going to take us into our next segment where, I'm going to have the opportunity to sit down with you and kind of go over one of those top picks that you've really been enjoying and kind of just like walking me through some of like those tips and tricks or alternate build paths or things that you've found that are just kind of like those little nuances that kind of take those champions to the next level.
Sure.
All right, so walk us through the fastest S tier Samira combo we got.
Alright, so the trick to getting the fast rank on Samira to insta-pop ulti is you want to go auto Q, and then as you're doing your Q animation, you're pathing into range via W, and then you're clicking W into an instant E. and then your second W will go off, and you can cancel that with an auto attack, and then by doing that, you'll insta rank all the way to S, and you can instant click R. So basically, your auto attack and second W will come out at the same time, and then you can insta rank R off of that. This is like a combo for you're just trying to get the fastest S that you possibly can on a target, and you don't really care for your win wall. Most of the time, you don't want to go for a combo like this unless you know for a fact that win wall is not going to be used. And you're just trying to get to your damage as fast as possible.
All right. So yeah, so that is the Samira combo, making sure that you're stepping forward to get the proc on the W on both sides of it
Yep.
with that auto attack in between to give you the ultimate S rank combo as I continue to flub that up, but it's all right. If you watch Azog, you know that he is not going to be flubbing that one up.
Also, another variation of this one where you can auto attack into WE, and then your second W will go, and then you can auto Q auto at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah, same general combo, uses all the buttons, it's just whether you're using your auto at the beginning or end.
got it. Well, fantastic. Thanks for sharing those quick tips on climbing with the gun and sword wielding bot laner.
Of course.
All right. So, last thing what I want to touch on today is a little bit about the team, how the team's doing, how the team's feeling, and primer into your guys' quarterfinal matchup, which is live in LA on June 9th. So, how's the team feeling about going out to LA and being live in the LCS studio for CLoL quarters?
The team vibes are great, honestly. I think everyone's just excited to be able to go back in person. I know a couple of us have been to collegiate finals. Some of us have played in LCS or academies, so I think everyone's just excited to be able to go. For myself included and some of the other players, it's our first time going to be playing on LCS stage. I think that'll be pretty fun. I think everyone's very excited. I think we all have the expectation to win, so it's all going there for business, just to take the trophy.
Fantastic, coming in business as usual. And of course, the business as usual runs you right into your guys' finals rematch from last year, which is Winthrop. So, going into that match specifically, you two are typically regarded as the top two teams. So, thoughts on that matchup in general and what you're most excited about for that match?
Uh, I'll start off with what I'm most excited about because it kind of lead into the other, but I'm most excited about playing the matchup in general. I think that I don't think I've been able to actually play against them in a meaningful competitive match yet, since it's my first year at Maryville. So while I don't really have a feel for the matchup from the past, I think that I'm very looking forward to just knocking them out of the tournament in the first round, honestly.
Fantastic. Going right for that shot, for the straight shot over into the finals to hoist that trophy on up. So now having, been with Maryville for a year and having been across a couple collegiate environments, who's been like the who's been that unsung hero or that very like that underrated or, maybe underappreciated is probably not the word, but like that underrated player that you guys have on your team that you've just really enjoyed being around during this year at Maryville?
I'd say there's a couple. I think if you take in out of game, just like all around personality and overall helpfulness, I think Kind Jungle is basically the father of the team. He kind of makes sure that everyone is always taken care of, everyone's comfortable, everything outside of League of Legends is always taken care of through Kind Jungle. I think he's does a great job at making sure that everyone has everything handled and everyone's kind of squared away. And then for just like strictly for in game, I think Always Plan Ahead has been a great addition to the team. I think he brings a very unique play style and a very unique way of just playing mid lane in general that's going to make enemies always be on their toes. I think that this guy has insanely like has an insanely high ceiling for his potential, and I'm very excited to see where he'll end up in the future.
Fantastic. Always good to hear about both the in and out of game stuff. I remember talking with with Kind Jungle, and he expressed the same sentiment, being like, "Yeah, I'm the team dad, and make sure I got make sure everyone's done their homework and
Yeah.
gone to bed and gotten their three squares." So that's fantastic to hear, and that's just great that you guys have that culture, because that to me just speaks of a well balanced, and frankly, a well balanced equals a very much a winning culture. So that's awesome to hear. So last note is last two notes. First one, if you had to give across this season somebody besides yourself MVP, who would it be?
Hmm. Well, if I am allowed to include coach, I'd say definitely our coach Jensen because he kind of came in and brought a new style of coaching where it's more holistic. I think his philosophy is 25% of his coaching should be about the game. And he's definitely taught us a lot about how to be a better team holistically. And I think that being able to take a 9 to 10 man roster in collegiate and make it competitive is something that no one else has done before. So I think being able to take our 9 man roster into LA and go and win the tournament while using all of our moving pieces is something that's very impressive. And I don't think people should just look past and say, okay, those players were just better. Because I think being able to incorporate 9 players instead of just 5 is extremely hard. I think it's very hard to tell from the outside, but there's so many moving pieces that the staff has to take care of with this many players. So I think that our coach Jensen and then Tej, the assistant coach, have been doing a great job. I think Tej has really stepped up and done a lot for this team. I think that most people don't get to see everything that he does, and I think even us players don't get to see everything he does behind the scenes. We just get to see the final results, but I'd argue that the stuff that he gives us is more productive than half of the academy teams get from their analysts. I think Tej is insanely good at his job.
That's fantastic to hear. I mean, coach diff is a thing, draft diff is a thing, and I mean, that's just that's awesome to hear that you guys have such a great structure and such a great coaching staff. That yeah, to your point, you guys have managed a 9 and 10 man roster, and it's one again from the player standpoint. You guys have that very well balanced mindset, which I think a lot of players, again, it's well, why is someone else going in for me? Like, some people can take the low shot at it, but it seems like you guys have managed to go it in the constructive and high road mount route of it's like we're all great at this game. Let's not split these hairs of who's better at one thing versus another. Like, hey, we want to play this matchup, and guess what? This guy's maybe is better at the champion, or like this style we want to play. That's going to be more conducive to this roster versus that roster, and that's a really cool mindset to have from you guys. And also, it's incredible that your coaching staff has been able to solve that Rubik's cube, because that's an insane one to solve. One, just to be a coach in general in league is a tough job, but then to coach 10 players and to be able to create all sorts of different systems of like, let's juggle these 10 players around and make teams of 5 with all that. That's great to hear, and that's yeah, like I think that's just a credit to you guys again as players and your coaching staff as a whole. So, last thoughts closing in. What are you like, obviously, like I know you're excited to be in LA, to be on stage, but is there anything else you're looking forward to like in your time out there?
Uh, Definitely just being able to spend time with some old teammates. I think Chucky's in particular, the St. Thomas support. He was my support at Grandview, and I have really close relationship with him. So I think being able to go spend time with him in Cali will be pretty fun.
Fantastic getting to always reconnect with some old friends, some old teammates, before trying to, you know, kill each other on
Beat
the
them.
Rift is always a
Yep.
good thing.
Yep. It'll be fun to hang out with them and then sadly knock him out of the tournament in the semifinals. But
Yep, it's all fun and games until the announcer says welcome to Summoner's Rift, and then
exactly.
then the gloves are
It's
off.
all
Well,
business.
yep, absolutely all business. Well, thank you so much again, Gabriel, for your time. I will leave the floor to you. Anything else that you want to say? Any thank yous, any shout outs, any things that you want to get excited for? I'll let you close things on out here. And everybody else, make sure you guys check out Maryville at the tournament. at CLoL 2022. If you're in LA, if you're in the Southern California area, you can get tickets to the event. Otherwise, you can find the streams, the LCS, YouTube, and Twitch streams. Thursday, June 9th, 5 p.m. is when Maryville will take on Winthrop.
Yes, just shout out to my family and my girlfriend. They support me through all of my decisions. And then shout out to my teammates and my past teammates that have helped me to get to this position that I'm in right now. Very grateful to be here.
All right, fantastic. Thanks again for the great conversation and best of luck to you and the team as you guys reach for that CLoL Cup.
Thanks for having me.